Ron told me that this video is about turntables, and he wants me to talk about whether or not you need to spend a lot of money on one to enjoy hi-fi. I'll just give away my answer right now. It's no. And with a warm welcome back to New Record Day, I am not Ron. I am Sarah, and we are going to be talking about turntables. This particular turntable that I have in front of me is a dual something or other. It
504.
says 504 on there. It's a hand-me-down. My dad was the one that gave it to us, but it actually belonged to my mom. She had it when she was in college, and I don't know exactly what year this was made. Ron can probably look that up for me. But she graduated high school either in 1977 or 78, so it would have been right around that time frame that it was most likely made. When we got it from my dad, it was in decent condition.
Yeah, I just needed a new cartridge.
So it definitely needed a new cartridge, and you replaced the belt?
Yep.
Okay. Yep, replace the belt. But, I mean, even before that, it worked. We played it before you even did any of that stuff. Yeah,
I
it worked.
I just did it just to do it.
Yeah. And then I used that old belt as a bracelet for a while, which was pretty cool, but it fell apart. So we've been talking about it all morning, but Ron thinks that the first record that we played on here was Boston. I don't remember. I do remember playing that on there, and that it was really, really neat to see my mom's old turntable working again. But I brought a bunch of albums that are important to me, so I'll just talk about those too. I actually have a ton of memories of this record player. My mom was... Well, she was definitely a hippie. She enjoyed herself a cocktail or two after dinner every night, and sometimes a few more. And typically, she would bust this bad boy out after a few, and we would listen to some old records. I remember Ron can probably find a picture, but anyway, the turntable was up on the top. And then my mom had big cabinets of records, and I remember going through them as a kid, and they meant nothing to me, but I loved the smell. And sometimes I would pick one out and she would play it. But I just remember that turntable meant that we were having fun, and it was always a good time. I remember that audio, and that wasn't of importance to her, and so therefore it has never really been of importance to me. Music is much more about the sentimental side. And sorry, I don't know why. Definitely can't include this. Music has always been much more sentimental to me than about quality or anything like that. My mom passed away just over 10 years ago, so that is pretty emotional for me, so I'm not going to talk about that part. But I do want to talk about a few records that do mean quite a bit to me. She absolutely loved John Prine, and this was an album that was played a lot on this record player. I hated John Prine when I was a kid, and now I love him. So this album, which I don't think very many people know who Leo Kottke is. I don't feel like he was like a star, but
that album is amazing, guys.
Oh, these smell so good.
Yeah.
What does it smell like?
It smells like Christmas.
It smells like Christmas. Yeah, this album is great. If you haven't listened to Leo Kottke, and specifically this album, I definitely recommend it. Linda Ronstadt's Greatest Hits. I actually had this as a tape for a long time when I was a kid, and I used to play it on my boombox while I roller skated, but it was in the box of albums that my dad gave us too. And Linda Ronstadt was definitely a favorite of my mom's. We listened to this a lot when I was a kid, and I know a lot of her songs, but I mean, Greatest Hits albums are the greatest hits. Why wouldn't you want that if it's available? And this is the album of all the albums I grew up listening to. This one is the most important to me. Specifically the track Vahiva La. If we could play this actual album on a video, you could hear all of the cracks and pops and jumps in the record, because Vahiva La is a party song, and she would tell me about college parties, and she always knew that it was going to be a good time when her neighbors started playing that song. And I don't know if it was this specific album that they played, like they shared it, or if she just had it as well, but this record has seen better days, but to me it's perfect. And then I have 2 albums here that were specifically my dad's from his collection. It came in the same box as the stuff of my mom's, but these were his particular picks. This Hot Tuna album, Burgers.
Awesome.
Also, again, I think not a band that most people know.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
It's great.
We're going for like back of the box picks from your local record store. And then Old and in the Way. I don't actually remember listening to this as a record when I was a kid. We had the CD of, I guess they're all greatest hits. This was a band that had Jerry Garcia in it, and it's like a folk band or bluegrass.
Yeah.
They put out 2 albums. This one, Old and in the Way, and then Old and in the Gray, which I don't like as much, but it's still good. And the summer that I turned 15, I had just gotten my driver's license, my permit. The summer that I was 15, between 15 and 16, I had just gotten my driver's permit, and my dad and I decided to drive to Texas, which is where his parents were living at the time. He's from New Jersey, but they were living in Texas, and we drove. So from where we live to where they lived was a 26-hour drive. And all through West Texas for the most part, which if you've never been to, don't. It's all flat desert. It's super boring. It's like a pretty high risk of falling asleep at the wheel. But we had 3 CDs with us for this entire trip. My sister was with us too. And this was one of them. I won't tell you what the other 2 were because they're way more embarrassing than this. But I became very well versed in Old and in the Way. It's an album that I'd heard many times before, but will be forever ingrained in my psyche after that trip. And if you've never heard them, probably you've never heard any of these. So again, bottom of the barrel pick, but I recommend it. So, to answer Ron's question, not yet. To answer Ron's question, you could have a turntable that you got for free. You could have a turntable that you spent a couple $100s on, or $10,000. And really, I mean, if quality is super important to you, then I just can't really relate. But to enjoy music, it's whatever floats your boat, man. To enjoy music, it's just really what makes you happy and completes your story. So it's kind of cheesy, but this is the turntable that I would pick over any other, really. So Ron's going to keep having to replace that cartridge every 45 years.
Maybe it's too old.
It's too old. Thank you for stopping by, and we will see you guys in the next video.
What was up with the guns? Get your twist on it. I
Yeah,
like it.
it's my finger guns.